Mass Effect 4 is on the horizon from Bioware, and I'm talking about everything we know so far on the next chapter of Mass Effect series, which will also likely maybe be Mass Effect 4 or Mass Effect 5. So let's have a look at everything we know so far regarding the new game.
Lockhart QT.
Starting off with the most recent news provided back on N7 Day of last year. This is the secret transmission showing what could be a new mass relay, as well as Liara to Sony talking with a Geth character.
I can see it. How did we miss this? Exactly. The Council will be furious. Although they should know by now not to underestimate human defiance. Perhaps was their most endearing trait.
After being unscrambled, an official cleaned up version of the audio clip was shared by Bioware on Twitter alongside this piece of concept art. Liara can be heard chatting to an unknown Geth character saying, "I can see it. How did we miss this?" Liara said, "Exactly, the Council will be furious. Although they should know by now not to underestimate human defiance," and then the audio sort of like scrambles and cuts off. Whatever the plot of the next Mass Effect game is, it looks like this concept art shows a human-built mass relay. Is the future of humanity actually building our own mass relays? Because in the past games they were built by sort of the Protheans and between different alien races, so that would be really interesting. Also, this mass relay also strikes a resemblance to Cerberus, who you fight in the original trilogy, with the white and yellow colour scheming. Also in 2022, during N7 Day, we also got a massive blog post from Bioware revealing more information, a Sims 4 crossover, and the transmission of a new piece of concept art, most likely set on the planet Ilium from Mass Effect 2 and 3. This is essentially the home planet of the Asari, showing that it could be returning in the next Mass Effect. In this concept art we can also see various characters such as flying cars, Turians, a holographic Asari in a dress, a holographic sign which is actually also seen in the bar from Kadara in Mass Effect Andromeda, as well as another holographic sign seen in Omega from Mass Effect 2 and 3. We also see a building with a number 5 on it, as well as another building that says SFX5, which is also on the spaceship I'll go over later. This is a reference to the fact that the Mass Effect trilogy was originally codenamed as Science Fiction X, before it was named Mass Effect. So could this confirm that the next game is actually Mass Effect 5 rather than Mass Effect 4, with the 5 being on the building, as well as the SFX5, I got there in the end. Next up is the teaser trailer from the 2020 Game Awards, and during this teaser it was the first proper look at the next game in the series we got. And it was here we got our first look at an older Liara, a companion from the original trilogy of Mass Effect. In this teaser we get audio played during the Apollo moon landing, the first contact war between the Turians and the humans, Godspeed Pathfinder, where we take off for the first time in the Tempest in Mass Effect Andromeda, and some audio from a Reaper war in Mass Effect 3 with some ships getting destroyed during the Reaper war. Here we also get a cutaway zoom shot of both the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy. So they could be both returning, or could we be seeing a future where both galaxies are connected in terms of space travel, that is if the next game is set in the future. In the teaser trailer we also get audio from a Reaper, you know, the massive like brrrr, and then cutting to a shuttle flying to a new planet from different moons. Here we see a dead Reaper covered in snow with Liara walking across it, and at the end of the trailer we get to see Liara going to a snow-covered N7 armour. But more closely, this could be following the destroy ending of the original trilogy, as the Reapers are destroyed. In the background of the teaser trailer we also get to see a Krogan, Solarian, and possibly a human whose armour looks a lot like Ryder's, the main protagonist from Mass Effect Andromeda. We also get a look at a new ground planet-based vehicle, the Mudskipper, XT8 or B. It's hard to make out the final letter actually in the trailer. This new vehicle could be similar in purpose to the drop shuttles from the original trilogy games. The Mudskipper has been shown off in concept art as well, which I'll go on to a bit later. We also have a poster for the next game, which includes a shot of possibly the new main ship, as well as a crater which is oddly in the shape of a Geth head. So we could also be seeing the return of the Geth, which would also mean the return of the Quarians as well, and they have always been closely linked to the Geth. Revealed as a part of N7 Day 2021, this new poster teasing the next game, not only does the creator look like a Geth helmet as I said earlier, if you zoom in you can see some characters walking towards it, which include a possible Solarian, human and Krogan. Going back to the ship though from the poster, we can see that it says SFX on it, for its designation I mean. Another example of past designations in the series would be SR1 and SR2 for the Normandy, and then of course the Tempest from Andromeda. The SFX definitely looks suspiciously like the new main crew quarters ship in my opinion. For example, how you got to fully explore both the Normandy and the Tempest, I think this will be that main ship. And this again is a reference to the original naming of the series. Next up is some more concept art from N7 Day back in 2020, which shows a ship and some characters on a sunset planet, which could be a similar planet to the one that we see in the teaser trailer. Next up we go onto the characters and species returning in the next Mass Effect however. As we can see in the concept art, as I mentioned just, we can see also another shot of a Solarian, possibly a Drell, possibly an Angarian from Andromeda as well. And in the teaser from 2020 again, we can see Liara, so obviously the Asaria returning as well. Altogether, in all of the concept art and everything altogether, we've seen the Turians, Asari, Krogan, Solarian and Human confirmed so far as returning. So far we don't have definitive answers on if other species in the Mass Effect series are returning, and we don't even know if we'll get some new ones as well, because I think that was a really cool thing they added in Andromeda, where you do like a first contact essentially with a new species, and I think if they delve a bit more deeply into that, I think that would be really cool. Next up, I'd like to talk about the technical aspects of the next game. All three of the original trilogy games were built using the Unreal Engine, specifically UE3. This includes the Legendary Collection remasters as well. However, games like Anthem, Dragon Age Inquisition and Andromeda were all built using the EA's Frostbite engine, which was mainly used by DICE, the developers behind the Battlefield series, and EA had a massive thing where like FIFA, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, etc. were all on Frostbite for a time. This engine, however, caused a lot of issues for development of Andromeda, and I don't think Bioware will want to return to this engine anytime soon. Back in mid-2021, EA posted a job listing for a technical director who had experience with the Unreal Engine to work on the next Mass Effect game. Multiple sources said that this year, Bioware are definitely looking into using Unreal Engine 5 for Mass Effect in the future, so hopefully this is true. This could mean that the next game's development could go more smoothly, and then Andromeda's sort of blunders will be forgotten in the past. And maybe Bioware could also reuse and build on from assets from the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3, which was made using a modified version of Unreal Engine 3 and some code taken from Unreal Engine 4, as well as textures, lighting, etc, shaders. So Unreal Engine 5, for I don't know if you've seen like demos and stuff for it, looks gorgeous. So especially Mass Effect has always been a series which prides itself on graphics. I think if Mass Effect 4 or 5 goes into Unreal Engine 5, I think it will look great. Next up is returning employees and developers working for Bioware on the next game. Back in 2020, during the time around the release of the teaser trailer, we had confirmation on some new and returning employees who will be working on the next Mass Effect game. Since Andromeda and Anthem, Bioware should realise that a lot of fans are worried about the future of the series, so Bioware wanted to make sure and sort of reassure fans that with some familiar names that are returning. First off, we have a returning employee called Dusty Everman, who is one of the key people responsible for bringing the original Normandy to life. Then we have Parish Lay, who was the cinematic director for the original trilogy, who is returning. Another returning employee is Brennan Holmes, who worked on the gameplay systems from the original trilogy, and we also have Derek Watts, who was the art director on the original trilogy as well. We also have loads of employees returning from the team that worked on Mass Effect Andromeda. We also have some exciting news that a fellow content creator called Michael Tucker will be working on the next game. This is also great news as going forward for the Mass Effect series, as hopefully we could get a return to the high standards set by the original trilogy in terms of storytelling. Next up is the time period the next Mass Effect game will be set in. In the teaser trailer we can see not only the Milky Way galaxy but the Andromeda galaxy as well, as stated previously. Michael Gamble, a developer at Bioware who's also the gameplay director, said this was intentional. Could this mean that we'll be travelling both to the Andromeda galaxy as well as the Milky Way galaxy, as in they'll be connected by travel somehow? Personally, I hope so. In the teaser trailer we can also hear a voice line as stated earlier saying Godspeed Pathfinder, taken directly from Mass Effect Andromeda when you first depart in the Tempest. Mike Gamble also said this was intentional, so Bioware are 100% trying to tie in both Mass Effects 1, 2 and 3 as well as Andromeda. If this is the case, then this could mean that the next Mass Effect game could be set over around 600 years in the future, because it took that long to essentially for humans, Turians, Quarians, etc. to actually travel to Andromeda for Mass Effect Andromeda to take place, so hopefully it could be in the future, we don't know yet. Another piece of evidence is that in the transmission, the year on the actual transmission is about 5 or 6 years set from the original trilogy, so this could be a hint that this could be taking place straight after the original trilogy. Not only that, but we have loads of developers returning from the original trilogy working on the new games, so that could be another reason why. Another piece of evidence which could allude to this as well is the fact that Liara looks way older in the teaser trailer shown in 2020, as she has visible wrinkles on her skin and could be a Asari matriarch, perhaps showing that she is now older during the events of Mass Effect Andromeda. Perhaps this could be the key of linking the two series together. But during the events of Andromeda, Liara would be around 700 years old. I personally agree with a lot of people in the Mass Effect community that Mass Effect 4/5 could take place in the same timeline as Andromeda, which took place I think roughly about 634 years after Mass Effect 2's ending. Now the next question that I think is probably the most popular when it comes to the next Mass Effect is, other than when it's coming out, is Commander Shepard returning? Next up we must talk about possible protagonists. Could we be playing as Ryder or Pathfinder, for example? A completely new character, or could we see the return of Commander Shepard? If Bioware wanted to go the fan service route, then I think they'd most likely pick Shepard. However, for me, they'd have to make it meaningful and not just bring Shepard back for the sake of bringing him back. They could also go with a clone from Cerberus, or just state that Shepard was in cryosleep, just like the characters from Andromeda. I personally don't see Ryder returning as a playable character, as Andromeda was universally disliked for several reasons, even although personally I quite liked Mass Effect Andromeda. But I'd like to see a completely new character for the Mass Effect series. This would mean a refreshing new experience for both new and veteran players alike. But at the same time, I kind of want Commander Shepard to return, as I have sort of personal investment with playing the trilogy multiple times. So either a new character or Shepard would be good as well. I've also heard many speculations regarding an Asari main character, and I've also heard suggestions that if we get to pick different races. I think this would get a bit messy, so I think they should stick to human. However, as we've seen in Mass Effect multiplayer, you can select sort of Angaran, Solarian, Asari, Krogan, Turian, etc. If we do get to pick our own race, I think that would be pretty cool, but it would be a bit messy in some areas, so they'd have to, I think, add more to the dialogue and the story, so they're probably just going to stick with human in my opinion. Finally, up next we have the release date. Now, since the teaser trailer dropped in 2020, we can most likely guess that the next Mass Effect is probably 2 to 3 years away. This is mainly because that we know that Bioware's priorities are currently with developing Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Usually Bioware releases games every 2 to 3 years, obviously this may change, so if I had to guess and speculate, I'd imagine that Dragon Age will release in 2023 or 2024, with Mass Effect 4/5 launching in either 2024 or 2025. Personally, I think it will be 2025. Honestly, I'm just hoping that the next game is really good, well polished, and hits the same emotional highs as the original trilogy, as well as some of Andromeda. I mean, I still love Andromeda, but the original trilogies, especially 2 and 3, are just amazing. I honestly think that I'll probably do a video on this in the future, that Mass Effect 2 is a near perfect game, so if they can hit something like that again with a new game, I think that'd be good. I think that's why having a sort of clean slate with new characters would also be good, as long as they're just written really well. Anyway everyone, that's everything we know so far regarding the next Mass Effect game. If you want some more videos on Mass Effect and gaming in general, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel, and as well as maybe following me on Twitter. I do post some stuff on there. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and especially thank you so much for all the new subscribers and the love that I've been getting on Mass Effect videos recently. I love this series and can't wait to see where it goes next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.